All right, and there we are. We are live, folks. Thanks for tuning into the Band Podcast for Writers Wednesday, now on Thursdays. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty. And here we have Walt Robillard, frequent co-host. How you doing, Walt?
Hello. I am enjoying the fact that I don't have to wear a sweatshirt because it's not cold as balls in my state.
That must be a rare occurrence in New England.
Rhode Island. Yeah.
Rhode Island. Yeah. And J.R. Handley. How you doing, J.R.?
Doing great.
All right.
It's hot as balls outside, too, but my definition is probably different than yours.
Hey, I have a treat, guys.
What's the treat?
Walt keeps telling me I need intro music. So now that we're well and fully introduced, I got a little thing. So
let's hear it.
Yeah, 1 second. That's the one.
I like it.
There's a vibe, right?
Hell yeah. And the animation's cool, too.
That was easy. That was like 3 seconds of work. So, yeah. Hey, Neil.
You're not supposed to show us the magic behind everything. So, no, it took me a decade to do that.
Got to do the Starfleet engineer thing.
Sanoken! Right. He's awesome.
Afternoon, sir. Good to have you watching.
So, yeah, I was thinking for a topic for today, believable characters done the way it should be done, and that's basing them on the people around you so that you don't have to make it up whole cloth.
But I have no friends, Walt, so I just base them around the people I wish I had inside my head. Does that make sense? No?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. Hell yeah.
JR, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I've always been a people watcher, so I do a lot of that already. Like, I just base it on people I know or people I wish I knew. And being a historian, I also pull from dead people. So
you pull from dead people.
Like, one day, I am totally writing a character based on Jack Churchill. That guy was an
yeah.
He's the only confirmed bow and arrow kill during World War II. And he also charged one of the beaches on Normandy with a sword. So he literally brought a knife to a gunfight. And he won. Yeah. Also slightly insane, it sounds like.
Hell yeah.
It goes along with the Scotch, I think. But yeah, that's I think that'd be a great book. Make it a graphic novel, man. That'd be huge. Like, my favorite Warren Ellis work, bar none, was he did a historical comic. You know what I'm talking about? A few years ago, the battle comic.
Oh, War Heroes.
No, Creasy.
Oh, yeah, he wrote War Heroes too.
Okay, cool.
And let me tell you, War Heroes was one of those books that I was just like, I was absolutely in it at the time. It was superheroes used for the war in Afghanistan.
Oh shit!
Okay.
And it had the most disturbing page I'd ever seen in a comic. One of the superheroes is getting grenade training, and JR will back me up on this. There's always that guy. So the hero, who is super nervous because he's not invulnerable, pulls the pin and then by accident drops the grenade.
That happened at my basic training class. There's always that one.
There's always that guy, right? We had the guy that what do you call it? He instead of getting the full arm throw, he like lost it mid throw, and it like landed in the grenade sump right behind where they were standing. Ooh. So luckily it was in the sump. So I mean, all the blast focused up, but the what do you call it? The drill sergeant still had to tackle the kid. But yeah. So in the comic, he throws the kid like loses the grenade and drops it. So the drill sergeant, who is a superhero, like a superpowered being himself, pushes the kid and jumps on the grenade, and it blows and there's all this dust. He walks out of the dust, and the scariest, freakiest comic book panel I'd ever seen. This dude comes out and he's like totally unharmed, but his BDUs from his like knees to his chest are just shredded, and it just shows this giant, like almost 2-panel spread of his nutsack just hanging out. I'm just like, what? And he's screaming at the guy, full drill sergeant, and he's like, and the kid is on his knees, like eyeballs to freaking hot dogs and beans, and I'm just dying. I was like, oh my god.
Was this Warren Ellis or Garth Ennis?
It might have been Garth Ennis. It was called War Heroes.
Okay.
But yeah, but I mean, as far as like basing characters on people we know, I mean, I had the fortunate, I had very fortunate opportunity to serve in the military with a bunch of weird people and very interesting people, and my civilian job is no less different. So I have almost like a library of personalities that I can pull from, for everything from the guy who was the amazing soldier but the shitty human being, to the fish out of water because he was, even though he was an American citizen, he was as American. Yep, that's the one. Yep, is that Ennis?
Mark Miller.
Oh, it's Mark Miller.
I
So
like
yeah,
that G.I. Joe vibe.
yeah, it's superheroes. So like they all have superpowers and stuff like that. So, but one of the guys is like absolutely invulnerable and blah blah blah, reluctant hero, right? But like we had a guy that I served with that was as American as apple pie, was born in the United States. JR, you're getting some weird feedback. There we go. He was born in the United States. He what do you call it? But because he had a heavy accent, and because his family in total was from the Philippines, he would often give off this like fish out of water vibe. Even though, like I said, he was, I mean, he used to sit in coffee shops and like play acoustic guitar doing John Lennon songs. You know, the guy was as Americana as you get. So, but yeah, I mean, having somebody interesting like that has those cool backgrounds and has the ability to convey in your writing, I think is absolutely a lot of fun and can make for more, you know, more interesting and memorable characters than just big tough guy who won't back down, you know, honorable villain who is not so honorable all the time. You know, I've seen that 100 times, but you know, how many times did you have the guy that had to be picked up from the MPs because he tried to elicit sexual favors through a fence while guarding ammo? But then, you know, turned around and he was like super soldier once he got on the trigger, you know?
And if you don't think you had those weird guys in your unit, it was you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and if you haven't had the privilege of serving in your country's military to meet all those weirdos, just stop by Walmart or your local equivalent and just people watch. I don't know if they have Walmart in like England or Canada or whatever, but they've got to have something.
Tesco there.
Okay, they've got to have something.
Yeah, or you know, there's always a train station.
I don't know. We don't really have trains where I'm at in Virginia, so I haven't had the privilege of dealing with the people on them.
Bus stations are better. Bus stations are better.
Bus stations are better. Yeah. Yeah, you get some weird dudes that roll around. But I mean, you know, you go to anywhere, just find something to latch onto. And I love these like little field notebooks, right?
I've got a bunch of those.
Yeah, and I like the ones with the dotted pages, just because what they do is they it corresponds. You can get apps that use the dots and correspond the dots to grids on a field so that it'll actually transcribe what you're writing for you. Yeah, they're really, really cool. But like carry those notebooks around or just dictate into your phone, hey, heard this guy arguing with his wife. This would make for a good scene, you know, in a book I'm writing. Or, you know, this kid got away from his dad at Costco and ran into a cop and was like totally smitten with all the gear and stuff like that. Hey, can I see your taser? Put that in your, you know, put that as a side scene. You know, use your everyday interactions to show that your world actually breathes and it's not just this dude by himself against the nameless, faceless mob that is out there. You know, give the mob a face. Give people the opportunity to live and breathe in your story.
And if you don't have dictation, because like my stepfather, you have one of those like old flip Motorola phones that you could run over with a tank and still probably make it work a decade later. You can always text yourself, and then you have it when you get home if you're worried about forgetting. Because half the time I'm like, I'm going to remember that when I get home, and then I get home and I'm like, I don't remember whatever I was supposed to remember. So texting yourself is an option if you don't have a smartphone.
I hear that the what is it? The Norwegians was discovered recently visiting ancient Egypt thousands of years ago because they found a Nokia inside of one of the pyramids or something like that. Oh wow, that joke failed miserably. Wow.
Nathan wants to know who we're ripping apart now. I'm guessing this is a reference to a previous podcast.
We're ripping apart JR.
As you do.
As you do.
But yeah, that's one way to do it. Or if you can find, if you like history, like some of the documentaries could give you plenty of ideas.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of parallels. I mean, George R.R. Martin got rich taking historical events and fantasizing it into his world.
Yeah, War of the Roses, wasn't it?
Yeah, War of the Roses.
Yeah. And he turned it into a Game of Thrones.
And someday he'll finish that.
I don't know.
I doubt
I think
it.
Brandon Sanderson's going to write the last book.
Maybe he should write it now because George ain't getting younger, and I'd like to see someone else reboot the series and do the final season in a way that doesn't suck. But
didn't he say something like that on Twitter? Like, don't worry, I'll finish it for you.
He's
said that a lot.
Sanderson said he wouldn't finish it because he's done writing on other people's after Robert Jordan. But I know George Martin said he was going to move on. Instead of writing the next book, he was going to write the prequel series.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think he's written himself into a corner and he doesn't quite know what to do.
Well, that's easy, right? Just boop, 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 time jump 5 years later. Here's what's going on. Is that a cheap
those trick? Sound effects? You should follow everyone reading that series when they go to that time jump, and you could make those noises for them.
It's good to have a skill. All right, I'll take that.
But yeah, that's one way to do it. If you ever want to, I would say reality TV, but that's not actually real. But sometimes if you watch some of the dash cam stuff, if you want to see how people react in a crisis, I know Russians love the dash cam, so you get all the accidents. Although, like I said, you never really know how much of that's hyped up for views. But I mean, just find a way where you can observe people, even if you don't leave your house, and take from real people.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Writer's Digest article right now about writing characters, and one of the top ones was avoid cliches.
Yeah, I mean, one of my good friends is a police officer, so I get really interesting stories of what he does during the course of a night, and even for if you're trying to write something like a scene of what you think people might do, as JR, don't you have some crying to do? I mean, editing. Hey, we're working as fast as we can.
They're just being mean to JR today. What's up with that?
It's okay.
It's actually very virulent love. JR has written one of the seminal works in the Galaxy's Edge universe called the Reservist, also known as Am I Fat or My Plate Carrier Too Small?
That's the Hogan story.
Yeah.
Mine is the Eclair Boogaloo.
So people are very excited to have when it was announced that he was writing a second one, and now it is in editing. So it's getting done. It's just
unfortunately, Galaxy's Edge they write so much so fast, and they've got other authors too. But there is a what do you call it? A gap or a funnel that's narrowed really down at the editing for this.
Yeah.
So I will say that one of the advice I got, I was one of my majors as an undergrad was English before the war, and I had to drop it. But one of the things they told us in our creative writing class that I always liked was don't try to think you could be the guy that bases every one of your characters on some part of yourself, because you might be weird and not know it, and then you write characters that nobody else can relate to. So try to use other people because then you get sort of a wider look at humanity.
I guess it begs the question. I mean, as a writer, can you write someone doesn't sound like you? Because there's writers I love dearly, but when they start talking, I'm like, oh, okay. Even if I was in a black room, didn't have a room in front of me, and didn't have a book in front of me, and I was just hearing this over audio, I would know this is a character in a blank book. It's Stephen King or J.R.R. Martin. I mean, there's a cadence. There's little things they fall back on. And it's a hard trick, right? Make someone give someone dialogue that doesn't sound like it would be something you might say.
That's okay.
I'm saying we've got tricks that they didn't have back in the day because your computer can read it to you. And so you can, if you Word has it, I don't know if Scrivener does. I don't really mess with that. And I'm told Mac can as well. But the word processor will let you have the computer read it to you. Walt uses an app on his phone. And if you notice that everyone sounds the same and you can't tell who's talking until it said Bob or said whoever, then you've got everyone to same. And that's indicative to go back and do that. I've caught a lot of that And the other thing to do when you do that is what I find works for me, because I got a crappy memory, is I'll just make notes for the character. Like, if I gave somebody a rednecky sort of voice, then they use this word instead of sergeant, it's sergeant or whatever. Just so that way you have some character.
And little verbal cues can really go a long way to helping you establish what a character sounds like. For example, my mother's entire side of the family is from Sicily, so English is not their first language. They have assimilated very well to the country, so they sound a lot better than they did when I was younger. But they still have little verbal cues that they use to help bridge the gaps when they're trying to string a sentence along. Mm-hmm. Like one of my uncles says, "Turn around." He says it constantly. And so he'll say, I was trying to get the engine in, turn around, and then I got it here, and then turn around. I had to bring it, and you're like, you do a lot of turning around. Shut up before I slap you. It's one of those. But he puts it in as a bridge to help him formulate the sentence because of the language barrier that still kind of exists there because it's still not his primary language. Even though he's been speaking it 40, 50 years, there's those little cues that he uses that helps him get from one side of a sentence to another. And those cues can really, really help you when you're trying to establish voice. Please, go ahead.
Now, George Lopez had a bit about his Mexican-American comic, and he had a bit about how, everyone in his family who knows English a moderate amount, the verbal filler word was always basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Same kind of idea. Yeah.
You don't have to use word tells though, because that can become a one-trick pony too. So one thing you can do, and I've noticed like Terry Mixon in his Empire Bone series does it. He has one of the female characters has augmentations in the body, so part cyborg basically, that causes her metabolism to go up. So she's always eating. So if you don't know who's talking, but they have the character eating while they're talking, well then it's her. They speak in pasta.
Yes, they do speak in pasta. It's funny as hell.
Physical cues can work too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's painting a scene. And one of the big tips they give about writing dialogue is enter as late as possible. You don't want to, hey, how you doing? What's up, George? That could be anybody talking. You get to where you have the clues and the cues that are relevant to those characters and make it more interesting. So,
and that's the trick with dialogue, though. It's not exactly how people talk; it's a stylized version of how people talk. So, like I used one of the combat scenes that I wrote in my first series was actually something that happened to me, just pushed into space, and I wrote the dialogue exactly as what happened. Hey, Josh, and my editor was like, "Yeah, that might have been what really happened, but that's not what you're going to write in fiction because that's boring." Like it's a balance of what like how it really would be, and then made entertaining and cutting out all the boring bits,
which is most of combat.
Yep, a lot of waiting around and nothing, and then oh my god, I'm gonna shit my pants.
Yeah, that was one thing I liked about the Hurt Locker. I didn't care for the way the movie ended, but there was a scene where they were just waiting for someone to peek out of a window when they were just hanging out for a long ass time waiting, and someone's like putting chapstick on his buddy and feeding him water, and it seemed. Now I haven't been in combat. Maybe you guys don't do that, but I always heard there's a lot of waiting.
Oh, a lot of waiting. We sat on an IED one time for just over 9 hours because the EOD team was moving. We had one EOD team working for this one huge area, so it was 2 hour. It was a 2 hour trip for them to get to each location. So we were last in the rotation, so we had to wait. Once we had confirmed that it was a bomb that we were sitting on, everybody backs up, but then we had X amount of time to wait, and just like, stupidness happened. People, doing weird things in the desert, and, making sure that nobody came near the explosive, but, you couldn't get too close to the explosive. So,
and sometimes people get really froggy and like, screw it, I don't want to wait anymore, and they just shoot the explosive. I don't recommend that, by the way, but I might have known someone who did that.
No, that's not smart.
That is exactly what my sister said to me when I got back to the rear.
Yep. Oh, so that was you that did that?
Yeah, I got sick of waiting. It was hot as bejesus. We've been out there for 10 and a half hours, and I'm like, I'm just shooting it. And the 50 cal took care of it for me.
This is why you can't have, and you wonder why you got blowed up.
I mean, after the 27th concussion, what's a few more?
This is why we can't have nice things. But yeah, so I mean, even something like that, putting that into your book, because it's based on something that actually happened and around people that you can know and interact with, versus the alternative where you're just trying to make it up out of whole cloth and hope that it sounds good.
Well, I mean, I got a buddy who can do that. Sean Noakes. He wrote The After, which is selling really well for us. He almost writes. He reminds me of Robert Howard. He kind of has this lyricism, and I can't duplicate what he does. It's just amazing. But yeah, when I personally, every single story I think I've ever written, I try to find something in real life and sort of branch off from there, because generally the ideas I come up with by myself are kind of mundane. Back in the before times, I used to have coffee at a place down in Denver called Ink, and a bunch of transit cops would have coffee next to me. And just hearing their stories from the night before, I wouldn't think of that shit. And it was always amusing, and there was a random element that you wouldn't think up on your own. This one I remember, and it was an awful story. It was Christmas time. There was one of those Sanarchy parties downtown. People get dressed up as Santa Claus, like dozens of people go out and get drunk, and they're taking the subway back. They get into a fist fight with some skater kids. And, there's a bunch of lady Santa Clauses there, and they're wearing tight outfits, and they're punching the skater kids, and their husbands are there, and they're punching the, so there's boobs flapping, and there's drunk Santas everywhere. And
oh my God.
Yeah, it's mainly just a great visual scene. I haven't really got in my head for like 14 months. And I'm like, wow, I have to work that into a story sometime, but I'm not sure I could really do it justice if it wasn't like a comic or a movie. And it's the transit cops. You show up and there's a fight, everyone goes to jail. Sorry. It doesn't really matter. I don't want to hear the story about how it happened or how it started. Just were you punching somebody? Okay, here's some bracelets for you. Let's take a ride. So
go to the judge.
Yeah.
That's hysterical. Santas versus skaters.
Yeah. It's fun stuff.
One of the podcasts that Walt, he's like on 20 bazillion podcasts, but one of the ones he's on is the Keystroke Medium. And sometimes Scott Moon will tell, he's a SWAT officer out in Kansas. And sometimes he'll tell funny stories about stuff that happens to him, like the silliness he meets with the random meth dealer or meth addict or whatever. So
yeah, Josh used to be a cop too. He gave it all up for this glorious writing life.
I thought he just got too hot in his EOD suit. I thought that was what it was all about.
Yeah, because that's the thing. He used to defuse bombs. That might have been stressful.
I didn't know Josh was in EOD. Oh wow, good for you.
Oh yeah, Josh used to used to do the deal. So
and before that, he was Air Force. We won't hold it against him though.
Yeah, he used to be in Air Force. Yeah, exactly.
Someone has to do it.
He used to sit on the big bombs. So he used to guard like missile silos. So craziness. You imagine the waiting around for that. Well, the Russians could come. Bomb suits are hot. Yes, they are. Yep.
Yeah, what are those guys doing in those silos? The guys wearing the turtlenecks, the beginning of war games, just hanging out. Are they playing Battleship? Are they playing D&D? What are they doing all night?
Pretty much.
Yeah. They got a killer Mech Warrior game going while they're waiting for Ivan to press the button. You got to wonder these things. So.
Well, if we let Stargate be any judge, when they're under the silo, they're playing cards. They're gambling away.
Yep. I mean, what else are you gonna do? There's only so many times you can jump rope in your room.
Is jump rope code for something?
No.
Okay.
Like literally jumping rope.
All right. Cool.
It's a confined exercise you can do.
Like burpees.
Mm-hmm.
Or pull-ups from the door jams.
Yep.
So we've talking about character creation, dialogue creation. What do we want to talk about for next time?
Let's see. How about prepping those first words?
How to start the manuscript?
How to start the manuscript.
All right, cool. We can do that. And there's our Substack, which we're going to start using as, I guess, a newsletter. Because we're not going to use it to edit stories, apparently. So,
the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Yeah. So, hey, join our Substack. There'll be content there, I swear. Maybe tomorrow. So,
as soon as I get it back from the editor.
All right, that's cool, man. No rush.
Yeah, I sent it out last week, so I know she was kind of slammed. She said she was going to get back to us, or crying.
Once upon a time, yeah. I shit you not. There I was.
You don't know. You weren't there.
Your father gave me this watch. He had it with him.
See, it writes itself.
It does.
All you need is 3 guys who are over caffeinated, overworked, and super tired, and you can write anything.
Like monkeys and typewriters.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite though is the Walmart blew up, and this time it wasn't my fault. That's Justin.
There's a superhero novel out there called "All Those Explosions Are Someone Else's Fault," and I should look it up and tag the writer real fast. I haven't read the book. Damn, what a great title!
Hell yeah!
All right, so next time. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Joe.
I was gonna say it's one of those titles you're just jealous you didn't think of yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, that was by a guy named James Allen Garner.
Nice.
Right on.
So
yeah. I was always partial to soon I will be invincible.
There's been kind of a small boom in superhero, especially supervillain focused novels lately.
Oh yeah. You got oh god, it's good now. It's gonna blow my mind. I'm not gonna be able to remember anybody's names. Oh god, JR, help me out. CC KK.
He did a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Google it real quick. He's my favorite. He's one of my favorite midgets.
Yeah, that man is not a midget. You're getting weird now.
Yeah, it's like a top 10 list of midgets. Kenny Baker's number 1.
I know the Pantheon is one of his.
Yep.
Try to see if I can find the others. The Pantheon Saga stories is what I can find on his website. Oh, in Star Brigade, he did the fantasy stuff. It was like his take on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
That's the one I've actually read.
Oh, I got some of his covers here. Oh, they do not blow up. That's a bummer.
What does not blow up?
I like it when the covers get bigger on Amazon because it's more fun to share a big image, but I'll share what I can find. So, Monsters Among Us, the Pantheon Saga, Book 2 by CC Eki.
A KK. Don't get weird.
KK. Sorry.
if you go to the Kindle, maybe it'll get bigger because you're on the audio.
This is Amazon.com, but yeah, it might get bigger there. So I'll see if I can find a bigger one. So, cool. All right. So next time, talking about how to start the manuscript. And hey, Nathan is So Walt, JR, and Banff walk into a bar. I should point out, no one really calls me Banff in real life.
Not yet.
Once I finish that mail order ninja course.
Yes. And if you're also looking for more superhero fiction too, check out the books by Jeff Haskell.
We've had him on, haven't we?
Yeah, Jeff Haskell's fun because he did a 24-hour writing stream where he was just like, he was going to finish the book 5 in the Wraith series, which is kind of like what if Wolverine and the Punisher had a baby, which would be interesting for different ways, for different reasons. But he writes some pretty cool superhero fiction as well. I
have to say I prefer him to his brother Eddie.
Yeah.
Subtle humor. How about that?
Subtle, very dad joke. Sorry. So yeah, there's a lot out there as far as superhero stuff goes. People are digging into it because right now military science fiction is a very huge genre. So like there's a lot of people writing in it. So people are looking for those other avenues. I would like to branch into serial killer romance. I think that's
Flasher fic. I could dig that.
I just saw Kickstarter the other day for monster romance. Actually, that was this morning. That's a thing people write. So no, I mean it's a well-served market niche.
Well, what do you call it? Bigfoot porn. You hear like I can't remember the writer's name, but she writes stories about campers getting lost in the woods and then falling in love with Bigfoot when he rescues them. I don't know how this makes money, but it does.
I think I know exactly how it makes money. If you stay for the podcast, I'll tell you.
Right on. So next time, how to start the novel?
Next time, how to start the novel. All right, and we will catch you all next time on the BAM Podcast.